Welcome back to Up the Villa podcast. I'm delighted to be joined by Jacob Tanswell, Aston Villa writer for The Athletic. How are you, mate?
Doing really well, yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me back on. I really enjoyed last time, and yeah, as I said to you before we went live, it's been a few days since I last spoke or covered Villa, so yeah, always good to have a little refresher during the international break.
Yeah, I had a little bit of a play on a title of one of our videos a couple of days ago saying why Aston Villa are in a title race. And I was kind of just messing around, but there's a graphic going around now that Aston Villa have a 0.01% chance of winning the Premier League. Jacob, are you telling me that there's a chance?
I think the chance is bigger than that, surely. Like, you probably say realistically, yes, there's 5 teams that could win it, and Villa are one of them. I would have given 20% chance, but surely a bit more than that. It's especially with someone like Emery, a guy that's a specialist in winning silverware, I guess. So, yeah, I think there's certainly a chance, however unlikely it might be.
Yeah, definitely. So what we're going to do is, like last time, we sort of broke it down into what we've just seen to what was about to come in the fixtures ahead. So we've played 6 games. We've won 5. We beat West Ham in the league, Alkmaar in the Conference League, Luton, lost to Forest, beat Alkmaar and beat Fulham. So, that was another good return, especially in the Premier League, 9 points out of a possible 12. Which is that's why we're in that little title race chat. But what have you made of those? Because there was some, impressive wins in that fixture list.
Yeah, I'm really impressed. I think we spoke about, Villa had a favourable set of fixtures coming up, and what I really liked is, you could say apart from Forest, they did what they're supposed to do. They did what a top team who wants to compete for the European places do, and they win comfortably, efficiently against the teams, in the middle half of the table towards the bottom, and they do it well, and they manage the European schedule well. So although I'm not sure they've been at their best necessarily, like you saw in the previous international break, against Brighton, for example, I think they've just been efficient. They've managed games, they've played in pockets, I guess. First half on Sunday, then they take a foot off the pedal in the second half. I think they've been just really efficient, and over a course of a 38 game season, but then with cup competitions thrown in, I think that's what you've got to do. You can't peak too soon because you already struggled in the autumn months and in the winter months as well. So yeah, really impressive. They've done what they're supposed to do, and yeah, they're still in the hunt, aren't they?
Yeah, definitely. But there is one small little minor thing, that a gripe I would say about what we're doing. It's the away form, isn't it? That loss in there was against Forest. Every game in the Premier League difficult. Villa aren't expected to beat every game that we play. I think every Villa fan knows that. But what do you think the solution is to this away form and just getting it right? Because we can see a bit of a difference between home performances and away performances. And I know there's sort of some fans are a little bit annoyed about this clean sheet that we're not keeping, and we're conceding a few goals. But I look at some of the goals that we're conceding against West Ham. It was a bit of a lucky goal, wasn't it, from Bowen? You'd got Forest goals on another day. Martinez doesn't concede some of those. So what do you make of the away form, and how do you think Villa can adapt going into some tough games we've got coming up?
I think one positive thing for Villa, they've got Spurs, away next. I do think it will probably suit them playing the bigger teams away from home, because they're going to have more space on transition. And you see how deadly they are in the second half of games at home, because the other team are pushing up high, and Diaby, Watkins, McGinn, Bailey are so good on the counter. And I do think you probably get that. You look at Spurs' high line. I think they're one of the only teams that could rival Villa's in terms of their back lines, how high they are. So I think it probably will suit them. But when you go to teams like Forest or Wolves, like we saw before the international break last time, they are going to sit a little bit deeper, and they're going to try and counter you. I think, for a team like Villa that want to coax the opposition press forwards out and try and play through them, they might have to mix it up a little bit. They might have to go more direct straight away. They might have to, as soon as they win the ball, they might have to go even quicker forward. And although you might lose that control that Emery wants, I think it's probably more important in causing more of a threat regularly away from home. But like you say, Villa don't keep many clean sheets, and I think partly that's because of the way they defend. When they do give away high chances. They're usually high quality. So Emmett Martinez can't do much, but also it's been compounded by the luck. You said about Jaron Bowen's goal, Luton's goal as well, which is a freak, concept goal. That was a clean sheet every day of the week, really. So, I do think that the numbers do belie actual, how good Villa have been really in defence. But they've also got to stop conceding immediately after half time. I think when they concede, it just compounds the issue. And when a team like Villa are trying to break another team down, the other team's going to have so much encouragement because they've got a goal, and they've got someone to defend, I guess.
Yeah, you are right about that after half time. It's just that little lapse in concentration, maybe. I think we just got to make sure we stop doing that as well. So Spurs are up next then, and their form sort of dipped off a little bit. 2 losses in a row. Villa need to perform to a big level away from home. So, how do you see that game going? Because it's going to be so interesting. There's a lot of players out for Spurs. Maddison, Van der Ven, Romero, Richarlison, Basuma's missing with a suspension. So they are heavily depleted. What type of game do you think it's going to be?
I think it'll be more competitive than, or hopefully more competitive than when Villa have gone away to the perceived top 7, Newcastle, Liverpool. I think that's the thing that Emery has kept talking about recently. Wait for us to play one of those teams. Let's see how we get on. Let's see if we are at that level. I think it's a fantastic test. I think the unavailability of Romero and Van der Ven is huge for Villa. Because you're going to probably have to have Eric Dyer and Ben Davies in there. They struggled the other day, as you saw. The way Postecoglou, he's not going to change the way they defend, being nice and aggressive. But those 2 centre backs, they're not really centre backs, are slow, not very good 1v1, and you just think, Villa are going to have a good opportunity here to exploit the space on transition. And I do think it's going to be a real competitive game, and it should stylistically suit Villa, but you just know the quality of going the other way, and you think. Son, I remember I watched the game at home in April, and I think Villa caught Son offside 4 or 5 times. It's ridiculous. They're stepping up, someone could time it. But you just think that threat's always going to be there throughout the game, so it could be edgy seat stuff for the whole situation.
Yeah, big game. But they're in the month of December. There are some very big games, and especially in English football, this is sort of the month, isn't it? This is the big month where it tests everybody. I remember watching Pep's documentary on Amazon, and he was massive on December. He was, showed you how grueling the schedule was, games thick and fast, and it is the same for every team, but this is Villa's running, and I'll get your thoughts on it then. So we've got Bournemouth on the 3rd of December, City at home on the 6th, Arsenal at home on the 9th, Zrinski away 14th, Brentford away 17th, Sheffield United at home 22nd, Manchester United away 26th, Burnley at home on the 30th, 4 home, 4 away. So, I mean, we're all eyeing the 2 big ones, aren't we? Because the next home game for Villa is City, and we know what the run's saying, etc. Followed by Arsenal. What would be a good month for Villa coming out of that? If you could imagine a month which you'd say would be good, what would it look like?
Honestly, I really don't think Villa have to. I think it'd be a great statement if they beat Man City or Arsenal. But I just feel like actually just keep doing what you're doing. For example, if you look too far ahead, Bournemouth away is a bananas, and they can turn over anybody, especially if they've picked up a little bit of form. I think that they're getting better at home as well. So you just got to focus on those type of games where naturally before the season you'd hope Villa could win. So I think just focus on them, and then if Villa can get something out of either of those 2 games, but also show that they could deserve to be at that level, I think that'd be massive. But that Emery's always talked about, especially in competition, they always say, why do you rotate? And the reason why he rotates is to get these players that are on the periphery ready for December to go straight into the team. So you might see Dendoncker go in, you might see Diego Carlos go in, Longley. These other players, they have to be ready to perform. So with that many games in December, these players have to come in and they've got to be ready. So with all that taken into account, just being as consistent as they are now, but maybe picking up something, against Man City or Arsenal, but making sure you don't lose to games like Bournemouth or Brentford. I think that would be a really good month.
Yeah, it's exciting. I just think now, without looking too far ahead, you look at the next Villa home game. you know, that's going to be a massive game because City have got Liverpool and Spurs before they play Villa. And I feel like it's going to feel like we've really got something to defend in that game. You know, we know it's going to be a difficult game anyway, but we've got that added incentive for that game. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how we perform in that game. So, who's the one player at the minute that when you watch Villa that you really think, yeah, I really rate him? Who's the player that you look at and think is one of, well, who's your favourite player basically?
Do you know what? I got asked that question yesterday. We had to write a piece on the Athletic that came out today, so on who's played the season so far, and I probably narrowed it down to 5 maybe. And I was looking at John McGinn, obviously Watkins, Ezri Konsa. But I think Douglas Luiz for me is the guy that I just look at. You've got absolutely everything. You can score goals, you can defend, you've got the energy, mobility, the athleticism, just everything. And I think without him, yes, okay, Yuri Tillemans has been much better in recent times, but no one can do what Douglas Luiz can. He's so important to the way they play, and if you can manage him right over the next month and keep him on the pitch as long as you can, Villa win games. You saw that when he came on the other day in the Conference League, just didn't really made like 3 passes, but one of them was for the winner. He's just so important. But I think I also really enjoy Ezri Konsa. I think his recovery pace and how he always looks like he could be beaten. Someone's just got in behind him and he just somehow stretches up his leg to clear or whatever. And he never gives like a foul away, never gives a last man foul. I think he's phenomenal and rightly deserving of his England call up too.
Yeah, and I think that's a testament to how well Villa are doing as well. That now sort of some of the Villa players that weren't internationals are now starting to become internationals, which, if you've got a team full of those, then you're doing something right. I think, Luis, his last international call, I think it was in COVID, and he just rocked up in Brazil with his Villa mask on. And yeah, so it's been a long time for Luis. So it's great to see him in there, I mean, what a nation to be an international player for. They don't have bad players, do they? So that's great. Konsa, and there's only really 2 now that aren't sort of playing, and that's Luca Dean and Diaby. So, I do think this December period will be the making of Diaby at Villa. I've just got a funny feeling that's going to be, the moment that he sort of announces himself on the Premier League stage. So, I mean, you get to see a bit of Unai. What's he like as a person then? Because when we do press conference episodes, and I get the vibe he wants to just be in and out of there in 5 minutes. He don't want to stick around. So, what's he like?
Do you know what? Actually, Unai, he likes to be on his own clock, I guess. Sometimes he's a little bit late to press conferences. Sometimes if someone's players in before him for Europe, he might be waiting outside and everything gets a bit hurried up. You don't want to keep him around too long. But actually, in press conferences, there's obviously 2 sections. One's the broadcast, which you guys see with the cameras, and then after 15 minutes of that, they turn the cameras off. The written press go towards the front of the row, and you speak to him. And although there might be time constraints and other people wanting to hurry it up a little bit, he always answers every question fully, and that's what I really like. I think sometimes with managers, you can kind of guess when they want to go. They might just answer shortly, 1 or 2 sentences, but he always goes into real detail. And for a guy that doesn't, English isn't his first language, to want to speak as much as he does and to give as much information, I think it's really plausible. And yeah, of course, he'd probably, like every other manager, would rather be doing something else around the training ground, but he really gives it full attention, and he's a very meticulous guy, very, very polite, and you could just tell he's a veteran at these press conferences. He's been doing press conferences in Champions League games after PSG defeat, so you can only imagine the difference in pressure and script to prepare that body more.
Yeah, and the team that you used to report on, Southampton, that they've picked up. So, you must be pleased to see Southampton sort of climbing the table, and they're right up there now, aren't they? Southampton, right behind Leeds. And I saw this stat the other day as well about the actual the Premier League, and the 3 teams that sort of survived last season are in front of the 3 teams that got promoted, and now you've sort of got the 3 teams in the Championship apart from Ipswich that are right up there. So that's a bit of a weird pattern at the minute, isn't it?
It is. You just but you look at probably Leeds, Leicester, and Southampton. You think they're three quite big clubs of the Championship. They've got a lot of resources. They can come back straight up, back up. But you look at Southampton, you think they lost four in a row, and they're still quite up there. So it just shows you the Championship just this complete fluctuating league. But yeah, it's looking good. But I think Leeds and Leicester just look really good at the moment. Obviously, Leicester have lost a few, but they've got such a dominant squad. And you probably actually say, if you look at the three teams in the Championship that went down to the three that went up, you could probably say the ones in the Championship got better squads right now. So yeah, it's interesting, but I hope it doesn't become just a 23 teams just changing. I like to see the likes of Ipswich or like a Luton, as they did, come up every now and then.
Yeah, and finally, how are you finding Birmingham? What's how you actually finding it?
Absolutely great. I live in Sutton Coldfields. There's a couple of train stations near me. Just hop on the train, go into Aston or Birmingham New Street. It's for a couple of quid, it's lovely. I really enjoy it. A lot of coffee shops, a lot of places to meet people. Really, really enjoy it. And for me, I've settled in really well here, and I hope to be here for a long time.
You been to the German market yet?
Do you know what? I got told about that by John Townley the other day, and I said I'm going to check this out this week. So yeah, I will look forward to it. Is it renowned? Is it?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
People travel from a bit like the song goes far and near. It's good, to be fair.
I'll have to check it out.
Yeah, definitely. Cool. Right. So it's been great to have you on again. Great insight from you. And probably sort of try and get you on in January. Then we'll see how December goes, and hopefully that percentage of the league is sort of a little bit higher, and we're still doing absolutely amazing. So thanks for coming on, mate.
Absolutely no problem. My pleasure.